So hello, I am presenting today on the topic of adapting to system changes and performance-based contracting. So I am doing a little practice run, thought I would record so that I could share it with all of you all. And you'll just have to forgive me if I make any, pauses, and because this is my dry run. So here we go. Welcome to our conversation on adapting to system changes and performance-based contracting, driving organizational success with executive functioning skills. Good morning, everyone. I am Stina Borth, and I am really glad to be with you today. We're going to talk about something many of us are experiencing in real time, navigating complex system changes while being held to increasingly outcome-driven expectations. But today's conversation isn't just about operations or policy, it's about people and how the skills we use to think, plan, focus, and flex are at the core of adapting successfully. I'm Stina Borth, the CEO and founder of Keymaker Services. I am the performance and neurodiversity specialist, and folks are often quite curious about where I'm from. And the truth is, I bounce mainly between the Northeast and Southeast as my home and Minnesota, which maybe you'll hear in my accent as we chat here today, is where I grew up. My current work is focused in executive functioning skills development, neurodiversity in relation to education and workplace productivity. With a background in special education and executive functioning training, I specialize in supporting youth, adults, professionals, and teams and developing skills that directly impact an individual's ability to manage workload, handle stress, and excel both in and outside the classroom and workplace. I've worked extensively with educators, workforce development organizations, and businesses to foster environments that engage the true abilities of individuals. And one of the topics I often engage in through my work is transitions and supporting navigation during periods of change. Keymaker Services empowers individuals and also partners with companies to develop and apply executive functioning skills effectively. So for individuals, we provide customized programs and support to enhance academic, social, and daily living skills. And for organizations, we offer tailored workshops and services that recognize the importance of executive functioning, leading to increased productivity and engagement. So as we start, I'll share that questions are very welcome, and we'll keep track of those to discuss on a bit later. Let's start with the big picture. So what kinds of system changes are we really talking about? We're talking about integrated care, value-based purchasing, performance-based contracts. And these terms aren't just buzzwords. They represent a shift in how services are coordinated, how outcomes are measured, and how accountability is structured across teams. These changes demand speed, flexibility, and teamwork in ways many systems weren't originally built for. So our ability to manage these transitions effectively hinges on the executive functioning skills of our teams. So system changes refer to significant shifts in organizational structures, policies, and procedures. These can include transitions that integrated care models, value-based purchasing, and new regulatory requirements. Such changes often demand a reevaluation of workflows and performance metrics. Many of us are likely already understand this, but many of us likely understand that performance-based contracting is a procurement strategy that focuses on outcomes rather than processes. So integrated care means breaking down silos between behavioral, physical, and social care. And that looks like regular team huddles, shared treatment plans, and active coordination, not just communication. It's efficient, yes, but it also introduces new demands and how people collaborate and make decisions together. So performance-based contracting is about outcomes, not just effort. That means funding follows results. But to meet these targets, staff need to track outcomes in real time. So understand performance indicators and translate data into daily action. That is a tall order, and it hinges on executive functioning skills. So when payments are tied to achievement of specific performance metrics, incentivizing efficiency and effectiveness, the value of executive functioning skills development increases significantly. It's essential. This approach requires organizations to clearly define goals and measure success accurately. So, what does all this mean for people doing the work? These system changes often mean role ambiguity, increased documentation, more meetings, and shifting expectations. And without support, even experienced staff can feel disoriented or resistant. This is where executive functioning skills comes in. So executive functioning skills are mental muscles we use to adapt, organize, decide, and act. They include things like planning, working memory, time management, and cognitive flexibility. These are more crucial now than ever because the more we ask of people to collaborate, flex, and pivot, the more we increase their cognitive load. So executive functioning skills are cognitive processes that enable individuals to plan, focus attention, remember instructions, juggle multiple tasks successfully. And key skills of these include adaptability, so adjusting to new conditions, planning, setting goals and outlining steps to achieve them, task prioritization, determining the order of tasks based on importance, time management, allocating time effectively to various tasks. Developing these skills within our teams is crucial for navigating system changes and meeting performance-based objectives. So take note of this list where we will be referring back to these skills through each scenario that we discuss. You might even want to screenshot it. Okay, so I'm going to invite you to respond to our first poll. Which area of executive functioning skills have you developed the most? So by fostering executive functioning skills, organizations can enhance adaptability to change. They can improve planning and execution of tasks. They can prioritize initiatives that align with strategic goals, manage time effectively to meet deadlines and performance metrics. And this alignment ensures that teams are not only responsive to change, but also proactive in driving success. So think about a team trying to coordinate care across 5 service domains. They need to share information quickly, shift gears when priorities change, keep their eye on client outcomes, all while dealing with their own caseloads and stressors. That's executive functioning at work. And if we're not building these skills intentionally, we risk burnout, friction, and performance gaps. So I'm going to invite you to our second poll. Which of the following do you find to be the most impactful for your organization? Improved planning and execution of tasks, prioritized initiatives that align with strategic goals, or time effectively managed to meet deadlines and performance metrics. So let me give you an example. Names changed, of course, for privacy. Sunrise Community Health is a nonprofit in the Midwest, moved from a fee for service model to integrated performance-based care. So let me give you an example. Names changed, of course, for privacy. Sunrise Community Health, a nonprofit in the Midwest, moved from a fee-for-service model to integrated performance-based care. They had to redefine roles, build care teams, and tie performance to value-based metrics. But what was the one critical factor in their success? You can see it on the slide, number 4. They added executive functioning skill building into staff development. That helped align data, decisions, and people. So moving forward here, I'll discuss examples of potential obstacles and how to work through them by looking at a few specific scenarios, following the rhythm of the situation, the why, the solution, so tools and strategies, the outcome, and executive functioning skills at play. The first challenge we could face could be resistance to integrated team-based care. For example, Maria, a longtime case manager, felt blindsided by the new expectation to join daily interdisciplinary huddles. It felt like just one more meeting. Meanwhile, her patient, Mr. Thompson, was finally seeing progress through coordinated care. And when Maria heard him say, "I finally feel like people are talking to each other," it clicked. So, next poll. How many of you have felt like Maria? The solution for Maria's situation was that leadership helped by hosting storytelling forums, real stories from patients like Mr. Thompson. And that emotional connection helped Maria reframe huddles as meaningful, not just mandated. Next poll. Which executive functioning skills are utilized most in situations like Maria's? Adaptability, emotional regulation, and planning, prioritization, cognitive flexibility, and time management, or task initiation, organization, self-monitoring. Maria used executive functioning skills like adaptability, planning, and emotion regulation, and became a leader in collaborative care. Her shift improved outcomes and reduced ER visits. So another challenge can be confusion around responsibilities and scope. So a great example is Jamal, a behavioral health clinician who wasn't sure whether he was supposed to manage medication follow-ups. Without clear guidance, patients like Tasha were falling through the cracks. How many of you have been in a role like Jamal's? So the solution and outcome here was that the cross-training, role guides, and huddles, the organization clarified responsibilities. So the solution and outcome here was that with cross-training, role guides, and huddles, the organization clarified responsibilities. Jamal could now confidently lead therapeutic support while other team members addressed social needs, and Tasha received timely, effective, coordinated care. Next poll. Through the strategies and tools shared here in this example, which executive functioning skills were utilized in this situation with Jamal and Tasha? Was it planning and prioritization, cognitive flexibility, time management, or decision-making, organization, and task initiation, collaboration, strategic thinking, and time management? So Jamal's executive functioning skills that were essential were decision-making, organization, and task initiation. That enabled him to act with clarity, improving coordination and continuity of care. Another growing pain in transitioning to performance-based contracting is fragmented and disconnected data systems. So for example, Elena, a program director, had to reconcile 5 different reports just to find basic client data. Meanwhile, Rosa, a patient, wasn't showing up to appointments because she had no transportation, but the system hadn't caught this. Next poll. Who is in a program director position currently or has been in the past? Another growing pain in transitioning to performance-based contracting is fragmented and disconnected data systems. For example, Elena, a program director, had to reconcile 5 different reports just to find basic client data. Meanwhile, Rosa, a patient, wasn't showing up to appointments because she had no transportation. But the system hadn't caught this. Next poll. Who is in a program director position currently or has been in the past? So Elena pushed for centralized dashboards and better electronic health record integration. Results for Rosa was re-engagement with her care plan, access to rise and stabilization of her blood pressure thanks to better system visibility. Which executive functioning skills are key in situations like these when pushing for centralization of information and co-designing? With executive functioning strengths and planning, working memory, and cognitive flexibility, Elena helped create real-time visibility and Rosa re-engaged in care. The next area to keep in mind during these transitions is unclear and inconsistent performance expectations. So our example for this is Derek, a nurse practitioner who was overwhelmed by new documentation demands. He was moving fast and missed signs of bullying that affected one patient's health. Next poll. How many of you have been in situations requiring fast movement that made you worried you might be missing information for care? And then additionally, I'm curious, in the chat, do you work with adolescents? So with support, Derek added buffers to his schedule, used time blocking, and took micro breaks. That gave him the bandwidth to connect more deeply with patients like Marcus, and performance improved. So next poll, which executive functioning skills did Derek engage in to implement time blocking, schedule buffers, and take micro breaks? Was it time management, self-monitoring, emotional regulation, cognitive flexibility, collaboration, or strategic thinking? Decision-making, planning, prioritizing, emotional regulation? So for Derek, executive functioning skills like time management, self-monitoring, and emotional regulation helped him shift from surviving to thriving for both himself and his patient. Another overarching challenge can be the feeling of being overwhelmed due to constant competing demands. So our example scenario is Tina, a department head who had too many priorities. She wasn't moving anything forward, and a smoking cessation program stalled again. So patients like James weren't receiving consistent support, which is essential when approaching such a program. So using the Eisenhower matrix and better delegation, Tina began to prioritize more effectively. Her team launched the program, and James, a 25-year smoker, finally completed it and stayed smoke-free. Raise your hand either with the reaction button or on camera. How many of you have experienced the pause or cease of programs due to similar issues? In Tina's situation, planning, task initiation, and organization made all the difference. And I bet you many of us have experienced when clinical goals and contract metrics are misaligned. Clinical teams are focused on outcomes like remission and medication adherence, but contracts focus on volume, and staff feel invisible. So solutions that work are for leadership to bring teams and payers together to revise metrics that match values. And when this happens, staff morale improves and funding aligns with actual impact. The executive functioning skills like strategic thinking, collaboration, and decision making help align systems with people. The last challenge area I'll discuss is when leaders are not equipped to manage complex change. So the last challenge I'll discuss is when leaders are not equipped to manage complex change. For example, a new VP walks into organizational chaos and the team is disengaged and overwhelmed. A potential solution to this is executive coaching focused on executive functioning skills development. They build self-awareness, communication under pressure, and decision frameworks. The results are that trust returns, projects move, and staff feel led. So in the chat, try to name one. Which executive functioning skills are essential for leaders managing complex change? For leaders in similar situations, the key executive functioning skills needed are adaptability for real-time feedback as needs evolve, strategic communication, clear, aligned messaging, self-monitoring, and emotional regulation for grounded leadership during uncertainty, decision-making, clarifying priorities, and reducing internal conflict. Real examples of the impact of working through the transition to integrate real examples of the impact of working through the transition to integrated and performance-based contracting over time are helpful to keep in mind. And what I know is that the data backs it up. Point of care tools improve ER use. Integrated care boosts contract performance. And one study through the American Hospital Association actually states that 87% of teams met their performance benchmarks through integrated approaches. Integrated care boosts contract performance. And one study through the American Hospital Association states that 87% of teams met their performance benchmarks through integrated approaches. Structured change improves retention. Another study states reducing staff turnover by 15%. And employee confidence during change went up 40% with the right support. So this isn't theoretical, it's practical and measurable. So here's the heart of it. System change is structural, but transformation is human. When we support executive functioning in real work, not just in trainings, we empower people to adapt, translate goals into workflow, make space for reflection, pilot, learn, scale, and support people emotionally as they shift. So as our last poll, what one strategy could you implement this month to align employee goals with system expectations? Of course, you can select as many as you want. Try to select one. I also have a resource to support you in your next steps of implementation. So for executive functioning skills and navigating systems of change for performance-based contracting, please take a moment to grab this with your phone or forward it to your email or computer. Just ask me for it later. I will put it in the chat as well. The first couple pages overview executive functioning skills, followed by challenges and solutions, tools and strategies that I've shared today, ending with a section to support yourself in application. So how do your current systems support or block integrated care? And what executive functioning skill is most underdeveloped in your team? What one strategy could you implement? And once you have that as well, additional support for you. So once you have that as well, additional support for you, if you're curious about how to build these executive functioning capacities within your team and you would like some support, scan the QR code or use the link to grab time with me. Don't grab me. Mention key free for a complimentary session so that I can support you. A huge part of the work that I do is centered around building executive functioning skills in teams and individuals. So as a thank you for being here today, I'd like to support you as you move forward.